2014. I did not immediately think to myself, ah, this will make a great book in 5 years. It came about somewhat by accident. We had a very difficult labor and time and delivery in the hospital, Elliott Hospital here in Manchester. The pregnancy was fine, but we had some challenges, which I talk about in the book, that ended up being about a 3.5 month period of recovery and therapy, physical therapy, and so forth for us, for our family, early on in Uma's life. And the result of that was wherever my wife ended up during those months, that's where I basically lived, which means I basically lived at the hospital for a good period of time in early 2015. And I didn't, her parents came in from Chicago, to watch over the baby, and I dropped everything else. I took a little bit of a leave so I could take care of the family and take care of her, and there was a ton of paperwork, and you know how all that stuff goes. I think we hold the record for living in the maternity ward. We were there for 10 days after Uma was born. So long that I got to know some of the nurses. They're still friends of ours, believe it or not. We still take Uma back to Elliott every so often to say hello. So, you always look on the silver lining of things. But while I was there, going through this period, I had terrible insomnia and I couldn't sleep, and I had a lot of time on my hands. So I had notebooks with me, and what I did what I often do as a writer, as a creative in times of stress or trauma, which is write. I'm primarily a memoirist, so I wouldn't call what I did, diary entries, but I certainly was trying to get all my feelings down, and my wife was sort of in and out of it during that period, so she really wasn't sure what was happening, and obviously Uma was just a baby, so I wanted there to be a record, right? I wanted there to, when they asked me, years from now, what happened, I wanted to be able to answer them. So I wrote about it, and I wrote every day, and I wrote a lot every day, because like I said, I was writing well into the night, and that writing became certain essays, and it got a little bit more complicated, and I started asking the big questions of life, as you do when you are stuck in a position like that. And because my wife is, some of you know my wife is very popular and has a lot of friends and a really enormous family, I didn't have the brain space to communicate what was happening with them in person, like on the phone all the time. So I turned to social media, and I tried to really utilize the social part of the media part, and to give updates on what was happening. And sometimes I would put down some of the essays that I wrote, and it was very raw, and I tried to be very honest about what we were going through, just as a way to communicate to our friends and family what was happening. And as it turns out, I write about this in the book, as it turns out, what we discovered was a like community of parents and guardians and caregivers who in many cases had been going through or were going through the same challenges that we were going through. And this sort of community began to develop. Matt knows this. There's the great mythology of parenting and delivery and birth is a romanticized mythology, but it is not that at all. It can go sideways really easily, and there's an awful lot of challenges involved to it, and it's not as easy as it is often made out to be. And soon people started coming to us saying exactly that. Oh, we went through this too, or try doing this, or, and so we had developed this community around us, and it made me realize that I should just keep doing it. Again, I didn't have any plans to publish anything, though a couple of the essays were published in individual journals here and there. But I felt like I'd started it, I'd done it for 3 months. That first year with Uma, I was a stay-at-home dad. So I was the primary caretaker for her when she was a baby. So I just kept writing, and I kept doing it. And I kept filling notebooks. perhaps as a legacy sort of thing. Someday maybe she would look back on it and have an interest in it. And then sort of fast forward to fall of 2019, fall of last year, during a pretty normal meeting with my publisher. This must have been October, it was before Halloween, so probably October, early October. She had mentioned that the press, the publishing house was putting together a series of books called the Reflections series, which was individual authors writing essays on a specific theme or a specific topic. And she said, I'd love to have you lead off this series with a book on parenting and fatherhood. And she, and I jokingly said, oh, sure, that's easy. The book is already written. That should be no problem, right? So I went back all 5 years to all my notebooks. I transcribed all of the writings for all the notebooks. I probably had 16 notebooks, and cut and pasted everything that I'd written on social media. I put it chronologically from 2015 to the end of 2020, and I counted the words, and it came to about 350,000 words that I had written over the course of 5 years. And the book itself was about 35,000 words. So it was probably the most difficult book that I ever wrote, because all it involved was editing. Every year I would write about Christmas, and every year I would write about her birthday, and every year I would write about Easter, and so forth. So I had to condense essays. I had to figure out which ones to use, which ones to leave out, whether or not to combine any, what I should do about the essays of the trips that we took, that type of thing. Find the more personal stuff and see if I could involve that or not involve that. I think one of your questions, Matt, is about about how I go about writing memoirs, and we can talk about that in a little bit. So eventually I had narrowed it down to a nice tight 35,000 words. Every 5 sections of the book, each section takes up a year in her life, more or less, and we were off and running. And I had a deadline of February 1st to get the manuscript in. We had all the PR and all the press and everything was out about it. There's about a 3-month or so turnaround between editing and the book covers and all that good stuff. So it feels like almost to the day, that I handed that manuscript in, then the pandemic started. It feels like it's really a close thing. Like I went from one to the other. But we made the decision to just go with it. All the press was already out. We would focus on pre-sales and doing virtual events like this, which is, sort of what's going to be the life of the gig economy for the next few months. And, everything has gone pretty well so far, I have to say. This isn't the same as me being able to shake each of your hands and give you each a hug, but you'll get a virtual hug. So that's the life of the book, Matt.
Great.
Brings us where we are right now.
Great, yeah. No, I'm just looking for questions real quick. But yeah, as Dan mentioned, one of my questions as I was reading his book, it just, as a dad, it made me think, gosh, I really need to write some of these stories down. And my kids love to hear mostly stories about when they were babies, or stories about, before they were born. That's an interesting thing to try and explain to kids, that, stories of I've heard their mom and me before them. But so yeah, I was very curious about what tips you might have for somebody who's never written a memoir of any kind, of how to approach it, maybe how to make it not so daunting.
Right. It can be really daunting because you have to be really honest. I mean, I've been a sort of a travel memoirist or just a general memoirist for most of my book writing career and even part of my journalism career, and that involves me always being a character in my work, but sometimes my family being a character in my work. And my wife, I think you've met my wife here and there. She knows what she wants and what she doesn't want. And she is my first reader. She's always been my first reader for everything that I've done. And I am very cognizant of privacy issues and some of the challenges of posting on social media and all that type of thing. Mm-hmm. And, now, when Uma is a baby, that's one thing. But now she's, when she gets to be 3 or 4 years old, you've seen this happen, Matt. It's all of a sudden they're they're little human beings with opinions, and and you got to take all that stuff into account. You know, she's only 5, but I have to be aware of what she wants and what her privacy issues are as well. Matt and I were talking a little bit earlier about this, and you know, Uma is now, she's at that age where she knows what I do for a living. You know, she knows I get up in front of people. She knows that I write about her. She knows that I write about the family, and I've read some stuff to her, and it's fine so far. You know, I always bring her into the discussion, but she isn't quite at that age yet, I don't think, where she's going to say no to something. You know what I mean? But I think that age, but I think that's coming, and when that happens, I'll respect that. You know, I'm not, the last thing that I want to happen is for her to be, you know, 11, 12, or 13 years old and get her own social media and Google her name in social media and suddenly realize how much her father has been writing about her over the years. I don't want that to be a surprise. So I try to make her aware as often as I can, and my wife as often as I can, about what I'm doing. You know, I know my wife well enough at this point to know, you know, to know what I can get by her and what I can't. You know what I mean? Every so often she'll catch something where she'll be like, you know, that's a little private, or I don't know about that, or you know, or even worse, she'll be my editor and she'll be like, no, that didn't happen. You know, that's the worst part, you know. But you know, with Uma, I focus really hard on privacy issues and being a courtesy for her, and that comes to, you know, and not to mention all of our extended family as well, who often make appearances in my books. And I'm not writing an expose, you know, I'm not a political reporter anymore. So if I'm writing about a particular family event or even particular family members, if it's something that's going to be published, they are all aware of it ahead of time, and I think that's pretty important, because you know, you have to in order to do this, you have to, the people who you're writing about have to trust you, and that's probably a pretty decent rule of thumb for just being a reporter or a journalist in general. You know, is to develop that trust, and then you know, they'll let you get away with things every so often.
Yeah, no, that's great. Oh, Bernie has a wonderful comment here, you know, talking about how much of a gift this is for Uma to have this written for her, you know, in the future. Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. You know, based on just my interactions with my own kids, I know how much they would appreciate it. I hope so. You know, I was talking to a very wise friend of mine whose kids are a little bit older than mine, a lot older than mine, and he said, you know, being a parent is like it's like a 30-year architecture project, right? And for the first 10 years, you build a foundation and you build a house for them. And then for the second 10 years, when they're teenagers, they tear down the house. You know? And then for that last 10 years, they build their house on top of your foundation. And I really like to think of it that way. You know, everything that I do, everything that I write and everything that I do, and all the pictures that I take and all the archives that I'm making for my family, you know, I'm a historian at heart, so I enjoy doing it. It's not a, you know, it's nothing. It's a fun thing for me, you know, to do this sort of thing. But everything that I do, I also, as you were mentioning, as Bernie mentioned, I also double everything up, right? So I have, you know, I have a hard drive with all the family stuff on it. I'm assuming that at some point when my daughter turns 16 or 17 or 18 and I give her all of this stuff, she's just going to throw it all out. And, you know, and be so horrified by what I've done. And then 10 years later, she'll be like, oh, I wish I hadn't thrown that out. And I'll be like, she'll want your backup copy.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
That's great. Yeah, you know, as I was reading this, there was one essay in particular that really struck me. It was My Only Sunshine, And it just made me think about when I was with my children and they were tiny and I was trying to get them to sleep one night, and the same thing, just start singing. And
Yeah.
what songs do you know? And it just so happens that that's one of the ones I would sing to them.
Oh,
And,
is it nice?
yeah. And then as they got older, I pluralized it, and they always, my only son shines, and they loved that. And they always, if I ever missed, the pluralization, they said, "Wait, go back, start over." So that was a fun game for us. But that just reminded me of, those moments, and it made me think too, as a writer, do you think that your creativity has helped you with fatherhood as far as being able to improvise and
Yes. Oh my gosh. Holy cow. I'm not we're not spring chickens anymore. We were a little bit older when we had Uma. So it's almost, looking back on my life, I feel like it's almost unimaginable of how, for me as a 20-year-old to have kids versus me now having kids. There's I have this great sort of depth of experience and I don't want to say wisdom because I don't consider myself wise, but experience and we're a little bit more, we're more financially stable, and we kind of, our family is a little bit tighter, and it feels like a more firmer ground to have kids on.
Mm-hmm.
So you can really sort of let yourself go a little bit more because you don't have to worry about all that other stuff. So you can sort of be goofy or just be silly or just focus on Uma. And my only sunshine thing, that's funny because I wrote that essay for her on her first birthday. That was on her first birthday. And I didn't, you go into this, what I thought when I became a dad was that I could look up what to do. I thought, there's been parents for thousands and thousands of years, right? There must be,
Yeah.
there must be a guidebook out there somewhere, but there is not. And so, you're flying basically by the seat of your pants every day. Sometimes it seems like every minute, something new comes up.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, being a creative and being able to improvise on the fly is I think sort of, again, not just crucial to being a parent, but sort of crucial to life. Think of the life that we're all living right now. We better be able to improvise and think on the fly right now, or we're going to go insane. So so I think that's really helped me, and it's given me a sort of freedom. That she's given me a sort of freedom to sort of let that, to let my freak flag fly a little bit, and not worry so much about all of those constrictions of being a younger man or a younger father. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Mm.
So one of the hallmarks of a Dan Szczesny presentation is usually a wonderful slideshow. And I know Dan has some great pictures to share with us, and
I do.
Perhaps a little reading to go along with that. So that would be fantastic if you want to do that now.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. So yeah, Matt's right. The last thing that you all want to do is watch me talk for 40 minutes or 50 minutes. So I want to give you a little reading from the introduction of the book, but I thought I would accompany that reading with some slides. It's a very small slideshow. We're talking maybe 10 minutes or so and I broke it down sort of into Uma's life, right from the beginning to the end, to sort of go along with the reading. So Matt, I'm going to bring the share screen up now, and you tell me if
I'll let you know
see that first picture, okay?
Yeah, we see that beautiful first picture.
Okay, good. All right, so this is where we're going to begin. This is my daughter when she was 5 days old. 5 days old she is in this picture, and you can tell she's a superstar right from the beginning. So I'm going to read a little bit from the introduction here, and we're going to go through some of these pictures as we go. So here we go. Through the words, I began to see a collection of parents and guardians and family forming that had the same questions about life, the same sense of something bigger than themselves, filtered through the everyday work of diapers and teething, filtered through the pain of scraped knees and broken bones. There we go. So as I mentioned, I was a stay-at-home dad for that first year, and you you got to think of things to do with the kids. So here's Uma's first mohawk. She might be maybe 2 months old here or so, maybe a month and a half, something like that. Writing about the wonders and agony of parenting became a way for me to channel my own creativity toward questions I've long held about philosophy and spirituality, and indeed our role in our own lives and in the lives of others. Parenting became a sort of religion, and I became an eager student. So at her 6-month-old mark, we actually took her for her first professional photo shoot. I'm putting professional in quotes because it was one of those mall photo shoots, you know. And this was like a dress that they had at the mall, and they curled her hair and everything, and she just totally bought into it. So she's like I said, superstar right from the beginning. I wrote directly to my daughter, like an epistolary novel to her about her life. We became parents at an older age, and someday, maybe, she'll be able to hear my voice through these letters. When she was 10 months old, 10 and a half months old, we and my in-laws, so there's 4 of us, took her to northern India to meet her great-grandmother. Here we are in Turkey. We went to Nepal, Turkey, and northern India. We were on the road for a month and a half with a baby on my back nearly the entire time. And that's the Blue Mosque behind us, the famous Blue Mosque in Istanbul. And you know, an incredible story is, you know, you're always asked, you know, where you saw your kids walk for the first time. And in our case, Uma was 10 and a half months old, and she took her first steps in the Blue Mosque behind us, in that incredible structure behind us. So it was pretty memorable. As time went on, the passages became longer and more complex. As she grew and changed and learned, so did I. The questions became deeper, the answers less certain. And a critical understanding of my role in her life, and by association, my life, began to emerge. This is in northern India. That's her great-grandmother. You can see where she gets her eyes from. That I had to become content with not knowing things, and with finding joy and awe in the glorious mess of parenting, where the next day, sometimes the next minute, offers yet another unknown, where there is rarely a roadmap. I came to look forward to these bouts of not knowing, excited, in fact, about the next thing to learn, the next tidal wave of organic information, accepting that the next day would bring yet another challenge, and that I couldn't possibly predict what that would be, became calming, in fact, like the purest form of living mindfully. This was the ultimate way of living life in the moment. And there's Uma on top of Mount Washington for all of you out of staters. I'm sure Bernie probably has been to the top of Mount Washington. Uma accompanied me up there several times over the course of my year when I was writing the book on Mount Washington. And one of my proudest moments, which I did not dissuade her of, is that there was a period of time there where I was at the summit of Mount Washington so often that she actually thought I worked on top of Mount Washington. And when I would say I was going to work, she would say, "Are you going to Mount Washington?" And I would say, yes, I am. So I let her believe that I worked at the top of Mount Washington. That made me happy. So I'm going to burn through a couple of other quick pictures here, Matt, because I noticed one of the questions is a project going forward. And a new project going forward, my next book is going to be a history and trail guide of the culture of New Hampshire fire towers. So that's my next book is going to be on New Hampshire fire towers, coming out next spring. And Uma and I have already started climbing to the summits where all the fire towers are. This is Mount Kearsarge. She was 4.5 in this picture. She climbed to all these towers on her own 2 legs. You have to do it on your own, or you don't get the patch for it. And this was as high as she's been so far climbing on her own. I think this is just Mount Kearsarge is just under 3,000 feet. So she loves doing it, and she loves getting up into that tower and having a picnic up at the top of the tower. Here's Mount Kearsarge. This is Pawtuckaway State Park, one of our favorite places. And that's one of my favorite pictures of her. She may become an etymologist, which would be fine with me because she adores bugs. She just loves insects and bugs. I know a lot of kids do that, but she really loves insects and bugs. She was actually petting a grasshopper in this photo. And as I was about to take the photo, the grasshopper leapt off. You can see him there in the middle left of your screen, and it became one of my favorite photos. Here she is wearing a birch bark crown that she found. And there she is earning her very first hiking patch. That's a New Hampshire Fire Tower Quest patch for climbing 5 fire towers. So she did that on her own. So I want to stop the share real quick and go back here. I still have a couple of photos that I want to show you. Some folks often ask me about what we've been doing during this time of isolation. And I have a couple of photos to show you about that as well. But I want to just take a break now and see if there's any other questions or if we wanted to talk about anything else.
Yeah, let me check real quick in the Q&A here.
But please ask away, folks. I'll answer anything. Maybe not correctly, but I'll answer it.
Well, while we're waiting, I could ask another one that
Sure.
I'm kind of wondering. So yeah, one of my favorite essays in here too was Wanted Heroes. And I won't spoil too much of the book so people can read it on their own. But it was just it was a very special essay. And afterwards, after I got done thinking about it, I also started thinking, boy, I wonder how Dan's travel has changed. You've been all over the world, and of course you write about it. And now, of course, your family dynamic has changed. And I was just curious about, how you've adjusted and, what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, it's been an interesting adjustment, as you said. The essay that you're talking about, that was in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, at the 9/11, the Flight 93 memorial site. That's an essay. That's also a special essay for me. That's one that had a lot of meaning, and it's hard for me to even. It's actually still hard for me to talk about without tearing up a little bit because it was a really special day, and I'll let people discover that one on their own. But we traveled a lot. Myself and my wife are both world travelers. We believe that travel is the salve for the soul. I don't think we never wanted travel and culture and food and religion. We never wanted there to be any barriers for her. I wanted travel to be something that was a normal part of her life, as opposed to the special thing that you did once a year. So we've been all over the place. She's been to 5 countries and 21 states so far. 5
Wow.
countries and 21 states. Now will she be able to call that up in her living memory? No. But in her bones, you feel that. It makes you a better eater, and it makes you it just makes you more worldly, I think, and more accepting of other places and more patient, and it just gives you all of this stuff. So she's very much a traveler. So I'm often asked that too. Does having a small one sort of make us make you change your plans? And it really it hasn't actually, not that much.
Mm-hmm.
You have to plan differently, but as far as making the plans, no, I'm not afraid to take her anywhere. She was in the car for long trips when she was a baby, getting used to it. She went to overseas when she was 10 months old. That was a 47-hour trip to get to northern India, and she was a trooper through the whole thing. And it's just about patience and planning for every contingency that you can plan for. And it's similar, Matt, to just general travel anyway. Going to a developing world is not, when you go to a developing world for traveling. When I was in Nepal or when we went to China or northern India, it's not. You expect things to go bad. It's not. You prepare for it. You have to get comfortable with discomfort, and that's what we tried to make her. So she's been all over the place. As she gets a little bit older, it's more of a challenge, of course, because her attention span is a little bit shorter than it used to be. But she knows when we're going on a trip, She knows what that means. you know, she knows it means new food and different playgrounds and different cities, and she's so far so good. You know, she hasn't said no. I don't want to travel yet, so she's okay. And plus, you know, when she goes to you know, when she go like we spent, you know, people always ask us about the time that we spent in northern India at her great grandmother's house. You know, was it a hardship? Was it difficult? And no, she was treated like a queen. You know, she was, you know, she every minute of the day she was spoiled terribly the entire time that she was there. So yeah, it's just been a matter of continuing what we do in our lives anyway, and just preparing to have a little one with us. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. It looks like Bernie sent a message there, Dan. I don't know if you want to take a quick read at that there, if you can see them.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Bernie was talking about 9/11. Yeah. Oh, he was in. Oh, Bernie went to Gandor, Newfoundland. One of those. Oh, that's an incredible story. I didn't realize that you. I never met anybody who did that. So what Bernie is saying is that when all the planes, when 9/11 happened, all the planes in the East Coast were diverted to Gandor, Newfoundland. This is there's been a couple of books written about this, and it's this little tiny town that suddenly saw this swell of something like 10 or 12,000 people all landing in their little airport, and they were all just stuck there. And this little tiny town had to deal with all of these people. And Bernie, it looks like Bernie was one of them.
Wow.
Talk about redrafting a new reality. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's cool, Bernie. Yeah, I'd definitely love to talk with you about that, because I knew that happened. I'd never met anyone who had been diverted there.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Well, another thing in your book that strikes me is, you know, how much you're cultivating a connection with nature, you know, for Uma. And, you know, I really admire that. You know, I love the stories of her, you know, digging her toes into the mud and in the streams. And, you know, I don't know if you want to talk about why that's so important to you, or what your feelings are on that.
Yeah, well, I've always, you know, I've nature writing and outdoor writing is has been a big part of my career. You know, I think you hosted an event with me and Janelle for the Adventures of Buffalo and Tough Cookie, our adopted son and daughter, Janelle and Aaron there, who we had for a couple of years. And, you know, my first book was going out into nature with Janelle when she was 9 or 10 years old, and we hiked a mountain a week for 52 weeks. And it's the same type of thing, Matt. I don't, being in the outdoors and being in nature, to me, feels like it should be a normal part of a kid's life, like a normal everyday part of a kid's life, not something special that you do on the weekends or unusual, but almost boring, like you're outside every day. You know, that's just part of your life. And there's this interesting, I forget if I wrote about it in the book or not. It's called attention restoration theory. And it has a lot to do with being outside and sort of re-energizing you, right? So like the idea that something that you enjoy that requires what's called soft fascination. So like watching bugs or getting your toes dirty, or, you know, and not just getting your toes dirty, but doing it without repercussions. You know what I mean? Like not worrying about getting dirty, or not worrying about getting twigs in your hair, or not worrying about getting wet, you know, that type of thing. There's a real restorative effect to that, that especially for kids, you know, that reduces fatigue, you know, and just makes them happier. And this has been, you know, study after study has shown this. So, and we're really, you know, you and I were talking about it earlier. You know, we are up against technology. I mean, which is funny to say, because here we are using technology to connect. But you know, we're up against technology. There's you know, kids. I've read some study recently that like kids spend average 10 minutes a day outside versus something like 7 hours a day in front of a screen. You know, so it's an uphill battle. But I want Uma to to feel no qualms, no hesitation about being outside. Plus, there's also there's something to be said for having kids, especially young kids, do something that is a little dangerous. Do you know what I mean? Not like running into a burning building dangerous, but like there's a chance that she could, break a bone or get a scrape or cut herself or something, or get a tick bite or whatever. That chance exists, and that's okay because it helps kids learn to manage that danger as well, and to sort of manage themselves and to be conscious of the experience that's taking place, as opposed to just sitting in front of, a video game, which is a different type of danger, I guess, but more mental danger than actual physical danger. So I'm actually okay, with a little bit of tree climbing and a little bit of scrapes and bruises and cuts, and and I think the outdoors gives you that.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree with you more. And I haven't heard of that study before, but just in my observations of these last couple of months with all of the remote learning that was going on at our house, and both of us working and kids being on screens a little bit more than usual, I try to get my kids outdoors quite a bit. And I could just see such a difference in their moods from after 2 hours of being on a screen and interacting with them, as opposed to being outside for an hour, biking and running around, and what they're, like you said, that regenerative effect and calmness, I think, comes from that. So
I think so too. I think it's important.
Yeah. So we had another question come in here from Jiffy, and it is, did she or you ever get lucky enough to see a red panda in Nepal? I know they're elusive and mostly in Bhutan, but they are my favorite animal, so I thought I'd ask.
A red panda, that's really cool. No, we have not. When we were in Nepal, we were in Kathmandu for the at least when I was in Nepal with her, we were in Kathmandu. We never got, we didn't really get a whole lot of sort of the natural world when we were with her in Nepal. So we didn't. But we do, like I said, she's extraordinarily interested in bugs and insects, far more than you would expect a 5-year-old. And that does not come from me. I'm not a bug guy, so I'm not sure where she got that. So I think probably this is Jiffy who answered.
Yep.
I think Jiffy, if Uma saw a firefly versus a red panda, I would bet that she'd be more interested in the firefly, to be perfectly honest. But that is really cool that's one of your favorites. Do you write down for me? I'm curious if you've seen one and where you've seen one.
Yeah, that was a great question. Thanks for asking that, Jiffy.
Yeah. So yeah. So
cool.
We're a little bit. You want me to? I have a couple more slides. You want me to show you what we've been up to during the pandemic?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Let's
take a look.
We're asked this very often. I have a few slides. And if you are, I'm going to go right back to, okay, can you see her fire tower patch shot?
Yep, we're back up.
So, so for the first year of her life, I was a stay-at-home dad, and now because of the pandemic, her, preschool was closed. She's going to start kindergarten. My gosh, Matt, she's starting kindergarten in September. So, I had to go back to being a stay-at-home dad, which I've been since early March, and it looks like it's going to go through to September. And, being you just mentioned, being a stay-at-home dad for a 5-year-old is way different than for a 5-month-old. So she is a active kid, and she loves doing stuff. And I have worked really hard to, find interesting and educational and fun things for her to do. But, since I'm with her 24 hours a day, I need to find fun and interesting and educational things for me to do as well, or I'm going to go nuts. So she loves art and crafting and creativity. She loves drawing and coloring and all that type of stuff. So we spend a lot of time. On art. And this is early this is around Easter time. So I was down in the basement. I was just doing some cleaning, and we have one of those one of those stretchy, you know, those exercise bands that you use. You put it under your feet and you stretch on it. And it's this perfect shade of blue that I minored in art history in college. And it's this perfect shade of blue of the headband of that famous Johann Vermeer painting, The Girl with the Pearl Earring, The Girl with the Pearl Earring, that I think a lot of people are familiar with. And because I don't talk to adults very often, like I'm talking to you, thank you, Matt, I think I said out loud, oh, this looks like the headband from The Girl with the Pearl Earring. And she said, who's the girl with the pearl earring? And I brought her up on the phone and I showed her the painting and we talked a little bit about it. We did this little art history lesson, you know, about the classics and about painting, Mona Lisa. And I brought some of these ones up to her. She likes looking at these pictures. And and she ran into the bedroom. We had this little Easter decoration, these little Easter eggs there. And she grabbed one. She said, Daddy, this looks like, you know, the pearl earring. And I put the little headband on her head and I said, oh, I bet you we could make you look like the girl with the pearl earring. And she said, yeah, let's do that. So we spent the whole afternoon working on some art recreations. And here's some of the things that we came up with. And there she is. So after doing this first one, she really liked it. I am not a photographer, a professional photographer. There's no Photoshop here. This is just a black background and my iPhone and just stuff that we find around the house. She loves dressing up. She really studies the facial expressions. She likes the faces. And we did this one and we thought, whoa, well, let's do one a week. We could do one a week. So we've been doing these for about 9 weeks now. And we had to do Mona Lisa, of course. What I do, again, there's no Photoshop here. This is an actual background. You can actually find just the images, like digital images of the backgrounds of some of these famous paintings. And I plug it into my computer. I plug my computer into our TV. I project this up on our TV, and then I set her up in front of them like a back screen. And again, all cloaks and towels. I think that's drapes over her shoulders. And we set this whole thing up, and she does the images, and we take the pictures. This was a fun one to do. This was a family history lesson. Her great aunt, my aunt, was actually a Westinghouse riveter during World War II in Buffalo, New York. Buffalo, New York, Bernie. And so we got to learn about some family history when we were doing Rosie the Riveter. So talking about bumps and bruises, this is Norman Rockwell, of course, the girl with the black eye. You can see Uma's black eye on the left there. That is not makeup. She had a paper toilet, a paper roll, a paper towel roll, and she had decorated, and she was using it as a telescope, walking around the house, and she ran into a door frame. Oh. And she gave herself a shiner, and she was not happy. She was not a happy camper at all about that, but it made me think of this painting, and I showed her the painting, and she was like, yeah, let's do that one. So that Band-Aid on her knee, that is also not a fake Band-Aid on her knee. That's just a bruise a skin knee that she happened to have. So pretty much this was the easiest one to do because that's Uma right there. And then I'll show you one last one. So she's really gotten into these over the weeks. This was last week. I wanted to do a Mary Cassatt painting because Mary Cassatt, the famous Victorian painter, did a lot of kids paintings. You know, she focuses on kids. And I showed Uma a bunch of them that I thought we could do because Uma's very into these now. And she didn't like any of them. She said that all the children were wearing boring clothes. She didn't like anything anyone was wearing. So I brought up, I still wanted to do Mary Cassatt. I took her to Google. I showed her 150 Mary Cassatt paintings, and I said, okay, you pick one out. And she scrolled through them, and she picked a very obscure painting out. In 1889, Mary spent a year in Spain, and she did all these incredible portraits of the Spanish dancers. And this portrait is called Spanish Dancer with a Lace Mantilla, and we decided to do that one.
That's fantastic.
That's actually a drape, a bunch of drapes that we turned into the mantilla. The little curl in her hair, that's construction paper, so we actually made the curl. And I just put her in front of a black background and, you know, did a little bit of shading, and there we are. So this is how we've been occupying our coronavirus time, our isolation time.
I love that it happened so serendipitously too.
Yeah.
Sort of just kind of came about organically, and now you had something fun that you guys could keep working on and enjoying, and that's pretty
Totally
neat.
an accident. Well, it's the same thing with that was for me with Janelle. At some point, as a parent, I think you begin to see yourself as a facilitator. Like
Yeah.
the kid has these interests, and sometimes they come from you, but sometimes they come from other places. So, as long as they're doing studies from home, you just, oh, she's interested in that. Okay, let's deep dive into that and see where it goes, because it's easier than dragging your kid through something that she doesn't want to do, And this
Right.
is also something that I like to do and that I know a little bit about. So it really worked for both of us. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun.
Very cool. Very cool stuff. So yeah, I'm looking to see if there's any other questions here that have come up. Jiffy did give us a little response there. She has not seen a red panda, unfortunately.
Not yet.
It's on her bucket list. So
Jiffy, are you in, where are you? Are you here in New Hampshire? Tell me where you are. I have a lot of friends and family. Oh, there you are. Did you?
oh, great.
Oh, you
right
are
here.
in Concord. Okay.
Right here in
All right,
Concord.
you're in Concord. Let's see, so it looks like the Cincinnati Zoo has a red panda. That's not that far. Go for it, Jiffy. Go for it. Get in the car and go. Well, maybe wait for this to be over, but yeah. Oh, there's also one in the Smithsonian Zoo in Washington. There's one in Washington, which that would be closer than the Cincinnati Zoo.
Oh, very
So
cool.
when all of this is done, you plan a trip to Washington and go see a red panda and take pictures and then bring it back to me. Yeah?
Yeah, sounds like a good plan.
Good.
Actually, okay. Saw one named Lily at the San Diego
The
Zoo.
San Diego Zoo. Okay, cool.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, they are all over the place. That's great.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, so let's see. I'll wait another minute or two, see if any more final questions come in here. But,
yeah, please ask anything about the structure of the book, about whatever is on your mind. Please ask away, and I'm happy to pontificate endlessly and keep Matt up all night.
I was thinking very much of your essay, "Battered, Swollen, and Chased Away," the other day. I was battling some hornets that had moved into our book drop.
Oh no!
So that brought me back to your essay, thinking, oh yeah.
Oh, what a perfect place for them. Yeah, so I wrote an essay about, and I do a lot of, what's it called? We find catches. We do a lot of treasure hunting. And one of them pointed us to this alongside of the parking lot, a railing, and my daughter, in her enthusiasm to get this little treasure bin, with little toys, reached her hand in there, and one of the first rules of geocaching is never reach your hand into someplace you haven't shined a light into first. And there was a hornet's nest inside there, and they all came on out, and boy did we run. I got hit 4 times, but I managed to keep them off of her. So that was she still talks about that day.
Yeah, I bet that was a little excitement. So we did have a question come in.
Yeah.
Dan, how does she do sitting still for the photos? And the photos are beautiful, by the way.
Oh, thank you so much. She who's asking that?
I couldn't see a name on that.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, she does terribly. She hates sitting. She loves doing dress up, and she likes playing, and she likes having everything on her. But she doesn't sit still for very long. So we have this sort of system, where I get everything ready for her ahead of time, and we pick out all the clothes ahead of time, and then basically I just take like 150 photos, while she's squirming and laughing. You should see some of the outtakes. Some of the outtakes are really funny, because in a lot of these paintings, they're like I said, she studies the faces. She wants her face to look like them, but she's a goofy kid, and she thinks this whole thing is really goofy, and she loves playing. And lately she's been getting her own ideas, like she's been elaborating on the art reenactment that we're doing. Like we did one for Frida Kahlo, and she has this Frida Kahlo doll, and she wanted the doll to be in the painting, and I could not dissuade her of this, so we put the doll in the painting, things like that. If she's having fun and it's taking up some time and we're learning a few things, then it's all good. So I take a lot of photos. That's the answer to your question, is that she doesn't sit still. I take a lot of photos.
Yeah, I believe that. That was from Elliot. So thank you, Elliot, for that question.
Thank you,
That's
Elliot.
great. That's great.
And what I would say too is Matt knows this. I have 0 privacy settings on my social media, much to my wife's chagrin. So if you want to come aboard, just punch my name in, whatever. Do you want me, Matt? Do you mind if I put my website down here so people can?
No, that's fine. I don't know that they'll see it.
Okay. Let me do this. I don't know if anyone can see it.
That's going to all panelists. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
But yeah.
So just Google my name. Literally, just Google my name, and you'll get my website. Come out and say hi on social media, and drop me a friend and request and so forth, and let's hook up there. Yeah, for sure. If you want to see, I post some of the outtakes every so often too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Any other events that you have coming up? Are you doing any more presentations that people might want to know about? 2
more. This Friday, we're doing Freethinkers Bookstore out in Dover.
Oh, cool.
And then next Wednesday is Dairy Library. We're going to do a Dairy Library. Both Zoom events. I think Friday is 7, Dairy is at 6:30, somewhere around there. But there'll be others for just sort of general presentations and so forth. And but those are the 2 main ones coming up for Father's Day.
And do you list all of these on your website usually?
Yeah, they're all on my website. They're all on my. Usually it's been on social media now where I've been listing these. But my email is also first name last name @gmail.com. So I'm really easy to find. Yeah.
That's cool. I just want you to see it. This is my favorite bandana. I wear this whenever I go hiking, or this is courtesy of you from one of your presentations there. So
yeah, that's
very cool.
An Everest trek bandana from when we went to we trekked out to Mount Everest. We were there for about a month. We got married in Kathmandu, and I hand out those. See, that's part of the problem. I can't hand you all my Everest bandanas, so you're gonna have to come in person to an event to get an Everest bandana.
Yeah, my kids love this. They just just the whole idea of it is pretty cool for them. So
it is cool.
Yeah, so let me check one more time, see if there's any last questions. So I'm not seeing any others. Anything else that you want to share, Dan, before we wrap up?
I'm gonna go and check and see if Uma is downstairs.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that'd be great.
Hold on a sec. Hold on a sec. Let me see if she is available or if she is out. She's taken to taking she started riding her bike. She still has training wheels.
Yeah.
When did your kids lose their training wheels?
So yeah, it's interesting. Just during this pandemic, they both took their training wheels off. And I have to say, my youngest is same age as Uma, and she picked it up a little bit easier. I think it's good for them to learn that young because they're closer to the ground and their center of gravity is low.
Right, exactly. Yep. So it looks like she's going to come up for a minute.
Cool. So that'd be great.
Let me warn you all. Putting a 5-year-old in front of a camera live is dangerous. So
fun. I think it's fun. I think that's
fun. I think that's what I meant. Fun. Yeah, it's fun. So Uma's going to come up and say hi and join us for a minute, and hopefully she will not say anything too dreadfully embarrassing. We'll see how that goes. If you suddenly see like the screen go blank, that's
there we go.
That's me reaching for the. So she's been riding. Her and her mother have been going out in the evenings.
That's great.
She's been learning how to ride, and she's still using her training wheels. And she has this little razor that she likes to do. But that's you get out into whatever outdoors you have. So that's the outdoors that we have.
Both of my kids have razors as well.
Oh, yeah?
Yep. Yeah, they're pretty into those.
Let's see. Let's see. It's possible that she has to put clothes on. She's at that age where she does not like clothes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, come here, come here, come here. Okay, come on over here. Come and say hi to Mr. Matt. I'm gonna put you up here. Okay, there she is.
Hi,
Say
Uma.
hi to Mr. Matt, who's right over there.
How are you?
And say hi to everybody. There's like 6 or 7 or 8 people who are looking at us, who are waiting for you to say hello. So we're talking about the new book, and we're talking about all sorts of cool things that you do. What have you been doing today? Oh, show them your tattoos. Yeah, you gotta see the screen there. You gotta show it so that there it goes. Oh, look at those tattoos.
Wow.
What are those tattoos of?
Those are very cool. Yeah, what are those?
Unicorn, psych, and tigers.
What is it again?
Unicorn, psych, and tigers.
A unicorn, shark, and tigers.
Oh, wow. I think my kids, those are some of my kids' favorite animals, too.
Tattoos that I got are mostly all psych.
Oh,
And I have 2 tigers, but I only have 1 unicorn.
wow. You like sharks, though, don't you? What do you like most about sharks? And bugs. What's your favorite bug? We were talking about bugs.
Butterfly.
Butterflies, yes, because we have a lot of bugs in our backyard, don't we?
Yeah, and I like catch butterflies all the time.
And grasshopper. We caught a grasshopper just yesterday, didn't we?
Very cool.
Tell people about your kitty. What's the kitty's name?
Lavender, sweet pea, rose, lightning, thunder.
Say that again, but slowly.
Lavender, sweet pea, rose,
Keep it like
lightning, thunder.
Lavender, sweet pea, rose, lightning, thunder. That's the actual cat's name.
I love it. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and for her middle and last name is Rosie, or just thunder lightning.
Just thunder, lightning.
Mm.
Well, thank you for coming up here with us.
Yeah, it's so nice to see you, Uma.
Well, nice of you to come up. Your hair is a total disaster. All right, go back to Uncle Bob, and I'll talk to you soon. Say bye-bye to everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Good night, Uma.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. No, turn the light off. Turn the light off.
Oh, very cool.
All right, headphones back in. I'm turning all my lights on. Oh, hey, actually, it makes me look better. So there we go.
Well, that's really
I'm
nice.
glad she was actually able to pop up and say hi.
Yeah, me too. That was really nice. Nice to see her. Yeah. Well, let me see if anyone else has any last questions. Oh, happy Father's Day to you both, and thank you. Well, thank you, Jiffy.
So much.
Yes, and thank you for being here tonight.
Yeah.
Great. Well, this has been wonderful, Dan, and thank you so much. You know, this was for bearing with us. This was our first ever Zoom event for an author, and you know, I was really happy that it was you, because I've worked with you so many times before, and I said, oh, Dan's fantastic, and I know he's been doing this for a while now, so he's got it down pat.
Yeah, man, this is fun. This is as fun as it can be during a pandemic.
Right. Right. Yeah, you make do with what you got, and I think this is great. You know, at least we got to learn about your new book, and you know, I hope you do enjoy a special Father's Day with Uma. And
yeah, it's gonna be good. Are you doing anything over the weekend?
Boy, I don't know. I do want to try and get a hike in, and what my girls are saying they want to do one with me. So I'm sure we'll get out there somewhere. Not sure what we'll do exactly, and I might try and sneak away for a big hike. Get up really early and try and get something in that I've been thinking about. So
cool. Oh well, that's
I don't know. How about yourself? Anything?
This weekend, not much. My wife works on Saturdays now, so you know, I have Uma on Saturday. So Sunday is sort of a, you know, Sunday is my weekend now. You know, so we're just gonna hang out and probably go down to. She's been getting onto the bike trail over on the west side.
Oh, nice.
Scattaquag bike trail. She loves it down there. So same thing. We get up. We go really early. You know, we have our masks and our lunches, and you know, and she rides and I run. So it gives me a little bit of exercise.
Good.
She's starting to be a little faster than than I'm comfortable with.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's probably what we'll end up doing on Sunday.
Well, that sounds great. That sounds great. Yeah. Happy Father's Day to all the
Thanks,
dads
man.
out there. And
Yeah, thank you, everybody. And
thank
like
you
I
for
said,
being
come
here.
and connect with me online, and I'll send you some links to the website and all that good stuff.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much, Dan.
Great.
Again, we
Thanks.
appreciate it. And have a good night, everyone. Thank you for
Thanks,
being
everybody.
with us.
Thanks,
Take
everyone,
care.
for coming. Take it easy, Matt.
You too.